Welcome to The Grant, the EU funding podcast. The Grant. My name is Niels Tudor Winter, and I am the creator, editor, and host of The Grant. The Grant is an independent, non-commercial podcast initiative with the ambition to dig into all corners of the EU R&D funding system on topics of interest for the full EU R&D funding community. Facilitating networking within EU R&D funding is an animal with many heads. It is quite complex to structure the internet interface and platform if you're making such a thing. The best solutions are often sector-specific, which secures that the facilitator can zoom in on the stakeholders and the community within that specific sector. The EU Commission is the only organization that has made a broad platform covering all sectors. However, then it tends to water out with too many dead and inactive profiles. Michael Browne, founder of the platform Crowdhelix, has given it a try. With a background in research, he has developed a private fee-based platform that is giving it a shot to cover sectors broadly in the networking for EU R&D funding. I invited him into the virtual podcast studio to dig into the concept, how he managed to build it up, and finally having a talk in general on privately developed networking tools for EU R&D funding. It is a wonderful talk that sheds light on how a long experience in research can generate an idea that can suddenly help a lot of people. Please enjoy. The Grant. Welcome to The Grant, the EU funding podcast. I keep building up on content here in different sorts of direction. I guess if you're a regular listener, you might sometimes get the idea that it points in a lot of different directions. It's because I try to have some content that suits in most sort of segments and corners of the EU funding world, and that's I know it's a big animal to chew down. But I tried to spread out the butter a little bit on the bread to make sure that there's something for everybody as slowly as I move on. And then there will come more and more content. Now, my time series is practically done. And now I'm focusing a lot on getting university people on board because they are some of the difficult ones because they're so busy. Today I have a private consultancy on board, and we will have a talk about open innovation platforms. And I'm not going to blabber more. Michael, welcome.
Thank you, Niels. Thank you for having me.
Sure. And Michael, you are one of the examples of what is happening when you start to stick your neck out with a podcast initiative like this. Because in the beginning, I was only sending out fish lines, but I'm starting to get fish lines back from people who sees what's going on and smell the cheese and think it smells nice and would like to get on board. And that's exactly what I'm requesting. Anybody who would like to join this show, they for Christ's sake reach out, because that's the whole idea with this. I want people to get on board and share their insights and stories and what they have at heart. So Michael, you reached out to me, and I'm very happy you did so, because it's an interesting thing we're going to have a talk about today that you have at heart. But first, maybe you present yourself and the company you have.
Sure. So thank you for having me today. And so I've worked in the space of European research and innovation for about 20 years now. I was previously head of European research and innovation at University College London, so UCL in the UK, for about 15 years. I started to build a team up there in the role of about 2 or 3 people. And over a period of 10 to 15 years, we built the team up to about 20, 25 people, and we're one of the top performing universities in Europe under previous framework programs. This is, of course, before Brexit. I during this time when we had the transitions from different framework programs from FP7 to Horizon 2020, and obviously now with Horizon Europe, we could see that the dynamic of funding was changing, and the types of projects that the large public funding organizations, including the European Commission, the types of teams that they would wanted to fund their projects, particularly when it came to collaboration networks, was changing, and that the scope of research was moving more from basic research or lower TRL research to more applied and more impact-heavy research and innovation projects, and that the types of organizations that the Commission wanted to include in these networks going forward was changing more from being previously university and research organization heavy to wanting to include more SMEs and end users that would be able to take the innovations to market practically. So we looked around at the time, and we did a scouting exercise to look to see what types of organizations were out there that would help us to build networks more efficiently. So it's around the collaboration space, and we couldn't really find anything that suited what we were looking for. There were some organizations out there doing some of this. Many of them were doing it in sectors specifically or in regions specifically. We couldn't really find anyone doing it on their own that was doing it across multiple sectors and across multiple thematics as well. So we started up. We came up with an idea around an open innovation platform, an open innovation network that would help to better connect researchers and businesses to collaborate and innovate together. We invited people to London with an idea around this, which a number of research organisations initially bought into. We presented it as a business because we felt that we could not really run with it through one single organisation. We didn't want it to be a UCL baby, so to speak, because it would be seen to be too heavily dominant or run by one organisation. So we set it up as a separate entity, and that was Crowdhelix. It was essentially born, and since then we've been building the network and the platform. Kind of in the first few years, it was quite incremental. And then in the last few years, so we've been going ultimately for 10 years, I went full-time into the business in almost 3 years to the day. I decided to go fully in from the university sector into the SME world. Yeah. And as soon as I did, we had COVID-19 literally the same month.
Didn't you?
The first explosion of the pandemic. It was like, oh word, okay, you couldn't script it. But funnily enough, like me on a personal journey, it was probably the best professional decision I ever made, because it enabled me to focus on one thing, and obviously during quite a testing time. For everyone, personally and professionally, and I was able to focus on growing the business and making Crowdhelix a reality and sort of scaling it up to where it is today, and obviously going forward as well. And it's funny when you go back and you look at certain things like Brexit, the impact of Brexit, the impact of pandemics, and you think you're an SME initially based and founded in the UK, you think, this is going to kill us as a company, or it's going to certainly damage us. And actually, perversely, the pandemic and COVID-19 and Brexit have unpredictably made us stronger and our offer stronger, because obviously we've had limitations around the ability for people to be mobile physically. Mm-hmm. We've had the increase in the need for people to collaborate and innovate faster and quicker, and obviously the connectivity around that, particularly in responding to the pandemic, and also to the global societal challenges. So in a way, it's moved us faster as well as a company and as a platform, which has helped professionally. And I would love to sit here and say, yes, this was strategically planned, but it wasn't. It was probably quite a little bit of luck and being in the right place at the right, and using these opportunities, even though obviously the pandemic and Brexit are things we would want to have avoided for sure. But it kind of, in a way, from our offer at Crowdhelix, we were able to move with it. So where we are today now, Crowdhelix is transition. So our focus initially was on Horizon funding and European funding, and I think we're still doing a lot of work in that space, but we're now opening up our platform and network to become not solely focused on Horizon. We want to be seen as a global in an open innovation platform and network that connects research organizations and businesses and even policymakers and funding agencies to be able to match make and to collaborate together. So we're now at, I think, 35 members of staff, and we're growing quite fast. And we're now transitioning and opening up our offer to any form of international collaboration and partnership building. So, and just to clarify our position in the marketplace as well, just for your listeners. So we don't really see ourselves as consultants or consultancies. We're not providing a service per se in terms of proposal writing, project management, or these types of services that you'd have, like maybe previous speakers on this show may have spoken about. We see ourselves very much as like a trusted broker in a space where it's organizations and people find it difficult to make themselves visible, make their skills and expertise visible to other organizations and sectors that are maybe outside their area of expertise. And I think when we look at some of the projects that organizations like the European Commission are wanting to fund, you look at the mega projects, 6 million, the 10 million, the 20 million euros, and you look at the dynamics and the compositions of these projects. You'll have world-leading researchers and innovators in there. You'll have businesses. You'll have social scientists. You'll have policymakers. You'll have maybe micro SMEs, big multinational companies. And the point of what I'm trying to make here is that these projects, not one single person, in my view, typically would have that network as a starting point to be able to build these types of projects that now these agencies like the European Commission and other public funding agencies are looking to fund in order to appropriately address the societal challenges. And that's where Crowdhelix comes into place. We try to use technology and networking to be able to help organizations that are coordinating projects and looking for partners, but also partners that are perhaps wanting to contribute but have yet to find a coordinator as well. And that's typically what we're doing at the moment. I can talk a little bit more about the platform and the network and a bit more what we do in terms of the nuts and bolts as well, if you wanted. But we can do that maybe later.
We will dig into it now, but thanks for the introduction. It's about your own background, university world, shifting, getting an idea on how to monetize on some of the weaknesses of all these things, and then building the company. And thanks for that. Let's just throw ourselves at it. Crowdhelix, you call it an open innovation platform. Before we dig into that, maybe we should have a short fly-in on these facilitating tools that grants consultancy companies. So consultants, they develop. I worked for a company myself that tried to make a platform of sharing ideas. That was sort of trying to let clients and possible clients or non-clients share their research ideas, and then you could partner people up with the big database that the company had behind that. But that was a closed system behind that people could not access. So it never really worked, and it still doesn't. Then you have other companies that try to make. You have some. There's a French company. What are they called? They're called Up to Europe, and they sort of try to make a platform where you can exchange, you can find a consultant, you can find calls and so on. But it's I don't know how successful they are, but you have these kind of companies trying to develop something that is helping people, but also going to make a business model for the company that came up with them. Now, your platform, from my browsing around it, it seems like you can see that you came from a different place than business. You can see that it's sort of you're trying, you're making an honest effort to make a cross-sectoral approach. You have these helixes, as you call them, where you build things up where people with the same area can connect. But did you before we start talking about your platform, did you make sort of a market research? Did you scan and screen like you would do? Let's just say you make an EU proposal, right? You need to do the patent search. Did you check what kind of other solutions would be there, or like other kind of platforms within EU funding support?
Well, in as much as that I had worked as head of European Research and Innovation at UCL for 15 years, and during that time we were always on the lookout for any collaboration platform that would help us improve our connectivity and collaboration opportunities. And
which ones were you preferred back then?
Well, the only ones that we were working in anyway for us back then was the European Enterprise Network platform.
Okay.
The participant portal back then was still emerging, but it was very, very open and a bit blocky. But the ones that we've looked at, there's a couple in the UK that do this, but they're UK specific. And there would be one that would do this. I can't remember the name, but it was sector specific. It was in the area of health. So that for us, there was never like a one-stop solution that would provide this type of service or to our community at UCL that would be completely open to any type of sector and also discipline as well.
Yeah, when I think about a BBI, bio-based industries, they also had a quite developed platform, right? But again, it's sector specific. It's not cross-sector. I agree, because the ones that I have seen that are cross-sector, then it's not. These are companies that offer grant writing, right? So it's from P&O side, and then they would pick the best, and then they would try to build a consortium and make an offer to the consortium to pay for writing the proposal, right? So there was this element in it which is obvious for people that it doesn't matter how much you try to hide it as a grants consultancy, because it's your business. So there's always a certain hesitation with being too open to such a solution. So it's a difficult market you stepped into, and somehow you can actually, there is an analogy to what I'm trying to do with this podcast, because I'm covering everything, and it's a big effort to cover. I don't have to live out of it because it's a spare time thing. I have a steady daytime job that pays for my work. But anyways, I understand perfectly well the difficulty in building up something that is having a value across the whole board. That's ambitious. Now, so let's just with this fly in, let's just have a talk about how you actually attack that animal. Then how did you? So you realized that there was a hole in the market, so to say. You realized that there was a need, that there was something there. There was a need of a tool that could combine networking with all the networking and brokerage events, so to say, and the networking need that is always there for proposals, with a concrete, tangible tool interface, digital interface that can support that. So tell me and the listeners.
How we started and attacked that then, yeah?
Yeah.
Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, and how you dealt with this. You had the idea that you did not see that there was a across the whole all segments, so to say, sectors, socioeconomic sectors. How did you? So that's an idea, right? But having an idea and then starting to build it up, it takes a lot to find out how on earth you're going to do that. So.
Yeah. So I think to begin with, when we had the concept, and when we invited a select number of organizations to London to present to them the concept, I think we had around about 35 organizations. Pretty much all of them bought into the idea and realized that it was a good idea and that they wanted to support it. We agreed that it would be best, that we would need to be sustainable, obviously, and that we would need to invest in it with human resource and also technological resource as well. And so we set up the business model initially as a membership model. So we said that we would set the network and the access to the network and net access to the platform would be based on a subscription fee. So organizations would pay a fee to have full access. So that's the kind of that would be perceived potentially as a slight contradiction, because we've got, you still have a hurdle to jump. I mean, we positioned ourselves as open innovation network, open innovation platform, but you have to pay ultimately a fee to get access to that open space. That was our initial business model, and we decided that the core or the spine of this network would be based on the RTOs, so the research intensive universities and the applied research organizations. And we felt that this pillar of organizations are the strongest in terms of their research, in the most active, I meant, in terms of their involvement in European research and innovation, and the networks typically tends to coalesce and cluster around these types of organizations. So and that's where our background in networks were in. So we started with that to begin with, and then we then started to build out that membership base. And we're now currently today about 150 RTO members. And then as the RTO base started to grow, we decided to then start to open it up to SMEs. And then we were like, well, should we let SMEs in for free? Because we don't really want to charge SMEs too much money, because they may not want to be involved. Plus, typically they may not have the money as well. But then we thought, well, if we make it for free, we could end up with thousands and thousands of SMEs, and that maybe only 1 or 2% of them will be appropriate for what we're trying to achieve.
That's true.
So we again applied the membership model, but at a much reduced fee. And even if an innovative SME were to approach us, or even came to us through a referred source like another RTO, and they said, they don't have the money, or could we pay in a year or two's time, we would always waive the fee. So the fee was always secondary to us. The most important aspect was that the SME understood what we were offering, that they were innovative, they were doing innovation, and that they could add value through their profile, through their areas of activity to our platform and to our network. And I think today we have around about 400 SMEs. So it's not the biggest network for SMEs, but all of these SMEs have been vetted. Most of them have paid a fee. All of them I couldn't say all of them, because some of them may not be doing it now, but when they've been vetted, they were all doing innovation. Many of them have been involved in European projects before. Some of them have been referred to through our RTO network. Some of them have been referred to by other sources. So that's a valuable cluster of organizations, small companies. And then the third stream of membership growth was then around the the big companies, the multinationals.
Mm-hmm.
And currently we have around about 20 to 25 multinational companies that are members. And that, again, they would pay, and they would pay more than the
Of
LTOs.
course.
And the way that we would then structure the platform and the network was around, as you said, these helixes. So these are virtual technology clusters that we have built out. And we've always said that we would want, in order to launch a helix, it would need to effectively be sponsored or led by an organization or by a project or by some other means.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like us at Crowdhelix saying, "Oh yeah, we're really interested in this space. Let's just launch another a helix." It has to be driven by a technical lead, ideally a leading research center,
Mm-hmm.
or a project that's been funded through either publicly or privately. And then we have the credibility there with the technical lead to build the community out. We would then design the scope of the helix. And then we would then start to go out to the existing network and invite and refer in profiles that match the objectives and mission of the helix. And I think last week we just posted on social media that I think we just hit our 50th helix. So yeah, that's quite a busy space at the moment. There's a lot of activity going on, but yeah, that was quite a big milestone for us last week.
But how do you avoid? Do you have ghost towns, helixes, so to say? Do you have places that used to be vibrant and then they're not anymore? How do you avoid that? You understand what I?
Yeah, definitely. I think this was a real challenge at the very beginning because it's when you're building a community, it's a chicken and egg scenario, and you need to, in order for it to get traction and for it to grow and to provide valuable content and activity on the platform, you need people on there and stickiness to it and people using it. And if you've got 50 users on there, it's going to be difficult, right? So but if we get to, we've now hit, actually today I think it was our 11,000th user on our platform. So these are people who've gone in, they've set up a profile, they've used tagged words, and then we applied, I can talk about this a little bit later, technology to recommend and suggest opportunities that are coming through based on their profiles and their data. And now because this is growing, I mean, I think it took us, about a year and a half or 2 years to get to 1,000, and it's taken us and we hit 10,000 at Christmas, and it's taken us just 2 months to hit 1,000.
Yeah.
So
it's economies of scale.
Yeah.
So
but obviously not all of the helixes are going to be active all of the time. We've got 50 of them. They tend to peak and trough depending on the level of opportunities that are out there. Some of them perhaps less relevant today, like we set up a COVID-19 helix in response to the pandemic, in response to some of our leading RTOs who wanted to sponsor a helix and do some proactive collaborations in this space. We did that in collaboration with Science Business. There are still opportunities going through like that type of helix, but I would say less nowadays. Obviously, when there are health calls, then there may be some, about epidemiology or, pandemics. Then there'll be opportunities to collaborate in that. But there are some of these communities are still not as active as we would like all the time. But we also realize that when you're trying to build clusters like this, some are going to be more successful or more active than others. And that's fine, as long as we recognize that and we try to drive more stickiness and activity across all of them, but we recognize that not all of them are going to fly at the same speed.
What do you do in your end? Do you facilitate any sort of activity if you see that things are drying out?
So we promote, so everything, our kind of philosophy for making a post on the platform is that there has to be a call to action, or basically it has to be an opportunity. So we ideally want opportunities to collaborate to be driven by our community. And if that's been done, then that's great. But if not, then we will try to be proactive to disseminate opportunities to collaborate through the helixes. So these could be funding opportunities, commission, other types of funding, non-commission funding. They could be events. They could be like a certain type of announcement that might be relevant. That could be a response to a work program or other type of document that would be relevant to that specific helix being published. And then we would publish that through the helix. And one of the things that we're doing at the moment is seeing how we can apply our recommender engine to then be able to link keywords from opportunities that are being posted on our platform to prospective collaborators, and then try to help to create some teams around that if and when possible.
Okay, now I think time is to explain what it looks like, because it's the lingo that you start going into is implied, because you sit and work with this every day, you build the solution, so you need to explain. Now, I've just went to your website, I'm looking at it, and I went into the food helix. It's just an example. I'm just so can you explain me? So here I see some blogs. I see a Crowdhelix user. It's because I'm not registered, obviously, so I don't have any access to any data other than just an example here. But so you have Crowdhelix user and health and food seeking a consortium to join the project proposal coordinator. So you need to explain me and the listeners what can you do in these helixes, and what instruments does the platform offer to facilitate the contacts between the users in that helix? How does it work?
Sure. So when an organization joins and becomes a member, let's say UCL is a member and it has X thousand researchers and innovators, it would encourage those people who are interested in international collaboration to set up a profile on the platform, which is part of the membership package. In setting up the profile, they would then use what we call key tagged words, highlighting their own levels of expertise, their areas of interest. And then and then that's set up, that's then in the back and that's stored. And then when opportunities are then posted, whether somebody is looking for a coordinator or a partner, we then apply something at Crowdhelix, which is called our recommender engine, which is basically it goes through all of the profiles in the platform and then finds and suggests, I think it's the top 20 matches based on tag words. And then we would then share that information with the person that has made that post to try to facilitate a collaboration. And the idea behind it is really trying to make people more visible to the outside world, more visible to different sectors, different regions. And a lot of our activity at the moment is focused naturally on Horizon funding, but it's not specific only to this. So it can be used for any form of bilateral or collective collaboration. Not public or private funding, but once a university or once an organization joins, the people from that organization can set up profiles. Traffic is then or posts are then made on the platform, and then we use technology and a form of human curation to try and find the best matches to facilitate a successful collaboration. And this is what we're doing at the moment on the front end when it comes to proposal development or team building. And this is the core business model of where Crowdhelix has been born from. But we're also applying this same model as well when it comes to projects we're involved in ourselves around So we're involved in a number of projects, both national and international projects, where our role in those projects is to create communities, marketplaces, which we have called helixes. And then what we then do is it's the same approach that we use at the at the front end of the value chain, so the proposal and team building side, but we use this at the project implementation side as well. So we're trying to connect, identify the know-how that's coming through the project, that where are the key exploitable results, and try to find the best matches for people and end users who will take that forward through exploitation.
I think the key element of success here probably is that there is a reaching back, right? So you use the data, you use the information that the user is putting in, and you work actively with that information for the user to get a feeling that there's actually, it's not just there lying passively in a database. It's something that's being facilitated by either a human being or a machine. Yeah.
Exactly.
So it becomes active data, so to say, when they put in. So it's just my own analysis of probably of you getting members to because this is probably a reason why they happen. Yeah, that there's something that comes out of things. The second thing. The partner, the partner search element, what do you get from feedback from your members? Is that the most important for them, or is it the focused partnering? What is it? Because it's the I think what I'm trying to reach to is that the partner search, and when you build up a proposal, one of the most difficult things is to get the right core group of organizations. It's sometimes with SMEs and so on, with the industry, you sometimes have lots of choices, but when it comes to within some areas, you're kind of locked. And often, if it's a specific area, then they are often already clustered together. So what happens in databases like this, or also for brokerage events and so on, the real hotspots, they're not there. So I guess do you manage via this platform to create new core groups? Do you understand my question, right? That you have these flagship consortia that you need to be in for some calls, but I don't know. Does your platform manage to somehow interrupt or disrupt that picture a little bit?
Yes and no. I mean, what we try to present to prospective members and across the marketplace is that we realize that what we offer as a tool and as a network is it's another tool that or layer that can be used by organizations to improve their visibility, create new partnerships, new value chains. We have like over 600 member organizations. Of the RTOs, we'll have some RTOs who will be like one of the top performing RTO in Europe for Horizon. If we work with them to help them win one or two more projects, it's very nice for them to have, but it's not going to be the game changer for them, right? If we work with an organization that's in maybe a region that's, for example, from widening regions that are finding it hard to connect and make themselves visible with other organizations like, the top 10, top 20, top 30 research technology organizations. And these organizations are able to connect, create new partnerships through Crowdhelix, and they're able to maybe win their first ever Horizon project as coordinator by using the network to build that team. That's a very big deal for that organization. And we feel that both we are giving value for sure, but I think the relative impact for some organizations are going to be more than others. And it's the same with SMEs as well. Of course, if you help SMEs win projects, this is a very big deal. But if you're helping RTOs that win, hundreds, sometimes thousands of projects each framework program, Crowdhelix helping them win 1 or 2 or 3 projects over a 2 or 3 year period is going to be a nice to have, but not an absolute game changer for them. No, so it depends.
Yeah, and I guess because the thing is, because that's the honest reply here, I guess, from your side. But you need to have some of these top research organizations on board your platform, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so
definitely.
So so how do you cut through this? So you need to because let's just say Fraunhofer, right? We used to call them the beauty queen because they know that everybody wants to be together with Fraunhofer. So for consultancy companies, very difficult to get them to pay because they know their own value. And I guess probably you would have run into this once in a while with some of your RTD members because they know, but look, we are the best within this, so we actually people come to us. So how do you deal with it? How do you work with that?
Well, it varies, doesn't it? It varies from organization, but also the person that you're dealing with within each organization and what their needs are. But I mean, if I use one example, if you're talking about an excellent organization that has used Crowdhelix successfully. So, I mean, firstly, I'd recommend if anyone is interested in learning about whether what we do actually works, there is a success page on our homepage, which is accessible to anyone out there in the public, and you'll see there's dozens of testimonials on there from all over Europe. But one of the testimonials we're quite proud of, which we've put up in the last couple of months, was from NTNU. So Norway's top university. They're a member of Crowdhelix. There was a team from NTNU that they had like a third or half of their team built, but they needed to. It was all academic partners, and they really needed to find businesses that matched their concept. They did a post on Crowdhelix. We matched them to 4 other businesses through that matchmaking process, and that proposal went on to be funded and has recently been awarded, and I think it's just started. I mean, this is one example. You have an excellent world-leading research organization there that has used Crowdhelix as an enabler to help them build their networks.
You know what? You are surprised. You'd be surprised than anyone out there listening how even the strongest research entities in this world, university and private research, how they struggle to come across the industry academia cleavage. It's exactly. Any facilitators that I've been in that facilitating as a public facilitator myself. I've been in that where I managed for your old research fast. With who know everything. Strongest wind energy researchers from DTU in Denmark. But they say, look, we don't know how to get to these SMEs that do vital research on wind turbine gears, whatever, in other parts of Denmark. Can you do that for us? It's very, very interesting how it's sort of an eternal challenge for research to break down that cleavage.
Definitely, and I think this is where Crowdhelix can potentially help. And I think it's not just sector to sector as well. It's different disciplines. So, you might have a medic that COVID was a great example, right? You'd be looking for epidemiologists, but you'll be needing them to be working with economists or mental health scientists and social scientists. So, and sometimes. Well, a lot of the time, researchers or businesses, their networks tend to be within their own area of expertise. But the requirements from the projects, these big, large-scale projects from programs like Horizon Europe, are such that you have to we have to build teams that are very diverse. Still, they have to be excellent organizations, different sectors, different regions, and this is an area this is a place where we try to work in. Really, it's exactly that space.
Many have tried to deal with it. I guess you have your own challenges. So how have you fine-tuned things as you've been moving along? Slowly we will start to leave your platform a little bit and talk a little bit about how the challenges to develop these kind of things for in general, the traps that you can and so on. But just finalizing about this nice thing that you have developed. How have you? So as you move on now, you said you slowly building in the beginning and then exponentially exploding the last year by a factor of 10. But what have you made some mistakes, or where you had to adjust things, or what is there anything you can share with us about that?
Yeah, I think lessons learned. So we set up. We have an advisory board and we have an ambassadors group, and we try to listen to them as much as possible. There are sounding boards for development. There are they're a representation of our network. So some RTO members, some big industry members, some SMEs, some other organizations represented as well, and we use these groups as almost like our market research groups to be able to sound ideas off them. What are their pressing needs? How can we make the platform better? Are there any features that work or that we could improve on? How could we optimize things to make it more efficient for their organization? And I think the second challenge that we have is trying to just to get uptake on the users using the platform and engaging in it and seeing us as a collaboration platform. We don't really want to be seen like as an advertising board or like where we have to be quite strict in we sort of police what we allow, like we vet posts. So we don't want we want to make sure that it's quality, not quantity. So that's one aspect. And I think for us now, the challenge going forward is trying to have our community still use what we are offering as an open innovation platform and network for European funding, but it doesn't need to exclusively be used for that. So we want, we're talking to organizations in the UK, for example, to see how we can help them internationalize. We have a ready-made network from across Europe, even if these organizations or agencies are less interested in Horizon because of the situation around Brexit. We can still be used to build relationships here. It's just, I think for us now, that transition to this more open platform stroke marketplace offer that we want to really push hard on, but obviously not wanting to, we're still, Horizon is still the biggest game in town when it comes to international collaboration. So, so it's kind of, we're trying to encourage people to use our platform and network for any form of partnership building, whether it's even if it's Horizon funding or not.
Yeah, but isn't there a danger if you do that it gets a little bit mixed signals for users that has stepped up into this because they wanted the Horizon part, and then I don't know. Isn't there a danger in that?
Definitely, and we're doing a lot of work at the moment about branding and marketing, and how we're positioning Crowdhelix going forward. It's very, very important to make sure that our messaging is correct. I think ultimately the organisations, our core group of organisations, will still continue to use us for European collaborations, and Horizon is huge. Obviously, it's still 4 or 5 years left of the current programme, and there's talks now, even of the next programme being significantly bigger than Horizon Europe's in terms of budget. So there appears that there will be opportunity in that space, but we don't want organisations to think that they can just use our network and platform just for European funding. Our members can use it for any form of partnership building and matchmaking, not just Horizon.
Yeah, well, it's I guess that's I guess with any sort of business. So this is a business model that you have developed, and I guess it's a matter of using the tools and seeing, okay, there's a market where there are some other needs where we might be able to use the same tools, but then so it's I get it, but I also understand you'll probably have a lot of things to crack in your end before going that way. You know? Yeah, Michael. We should move on to the second topic, and this is just my. So I labeled the private platforms and success, and it's simply because that, as I mentioned in the beginning, I've worked for a company that tried to make some sort of platform. I've seen it when I was in the business, but also. Here, when as podcasting, when I'm moving myself around, and like there are a lot of things that that people of entrepreneurs try to develop because they see something that is of need when it comes to EU funding and facilitating tools. What I put as the first sub bullet here is like what the traps that you. Can that some systems they fall into or solutions that are being developed, because I've been working for one that they could not get the system to work because I think at the systemic level they didn't understand that they had to attack it in a totally different way. It was a closed system where they wanted to take information from people and then keep it closed about the whole matchmaking, or they would want to do that, but people don't like that. Yeah, it's and they tried to do all kinds of things to boost it. I was also hired, part of my task to boost that, but the systemic way of attacking it was wrong. Because that's not the way you get these things. You get a thriving idea exchanging community and networking. And that was simply because of the profit part, right? They they built the system to make a profit out of writing proposals or something, or other kinds of businesses. And I think many would fall into this trap. Is it something, these thoughts, was this something that you have been reflecting when you started building it? Is something that you are constantly aware of, or does it make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely. And we've been very keen not to be very clear on what our mission is, which is creating a genuine open space for people to collaborate, and not to be providing secondary services of basically consultancy services laid around that. The problem, the code we're trying to crack in itself, the core code we're trying to crack, is a very, very big one. And I don't think genuinely anyone has really done it properly, not in Europe, to my knowledge. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that code is big enough and keeps us busy enough to focus on, and the opportunity there is significant as well. If we can demonstrate and scale this and show that we're providing continued value back to our organizations based on our core principles, then that's the most important thing. Even though of course there is, like, we get asked, can you provide these services? Can you provide? And we are not consultancy firms, and nor do we want to be. We are. We sit down with organizations when they join. We try to understand what their needs are. Each organization is different in shape and size. We identify how we can provide value to them. We set clear goals for that period of membership, and then after that year's membership, we reflect back on that, and then decide and reflect back and see what we've done to deliver on that. And all of these goals are linked to our core premise, which is around open innovation, international partnerships, creating new value chains. It's not about providing secondary consultancy services or other types of services around that. It's just it would just leave a different flavour of what we're about. And yes, it has been hard, if I'm totally honest, because we're a business at the end of the day, and we need to be sustainable and profitable in order to continue. So yeah, I think especially in the early days, it was very tough. A lot of bootstrapping, and we had a lot of investments being made. I think we're now at a sort of tipping point with the numbers that we have and the growth, which it's kind of catching fire a little bit more, and so that's even more reason to keep to our core principles of collaboration, open innovation, and not to be selling secondary services wrapped around that, which other organizations do, which is fine. I mean, that this is their business model. I just don't feel this is something that we should be considering doing in the future, or previously, or in the future going forward at Crowdhelix.
I think there's a certain honesty about saying, look, it costs money, guys. So you need, it costs money to be a member in here. And I guess so that's where you made it rough for yourself in the beginning, I guess, because if people, they have to pay for something where they don't know what the service they add value to what they do. They are presented with a concept and with how things work and the tool and so on. They would see, probably you give them the full, they probably also get access in a limited time, stuff like this, to see how it works. But it probably that would probably I understand the rough part of this business model, because you would need the flow in, because you're not offering a concrete, tangible, we write your proposal, that costs you 30,000 euros, right? You offer something where you are really reliant on a subscription / member-based solution, right? To make these kind of things work. So, but what it does for you now is that now that you have made through the death valley, you have now a system where you get your flow of money. It costs money to come in, but you got your members to secure your business model and your business. And people who are in there, they know what they get, and there they can exchange fully open about what they want to do, how they want to do it, and so forth. Because that's not your interest. Definitely. Your interest as a company is not to take their ideas and write a proposal around that and charge 30,000 euros, right? They will take that where they want to take that. You are the facilitator. You offer a platform that is very well suited with different kinds of facilitating tools, where they can filter and find each other and so on, which is difficult. And that so yeah, I get it. Yeah.
And I think definitely, and I think at the beginning it was like a bit of a leap of faith from the initial sort of founding members in a way, because it was very conceptual. And the thing is, what you need, even after a year or two, you can't really provide tangible value back to these organizations, because you still, can't magic up a platform overnight. It takes years of investment and planning. You can't build a network with engaged users over months or years. It's taken us a decade to get where we are. And then once you get that critical mass, then it starts to actually provide exponentially more value back to the network and on the platform. And now what we've started to do in the last couple of years is we kind of put our I'd say, our money where our mouths is, in terms of when the subscriptions organizations, when the RTOs join, we sit down with them and we identify clear goals that we will be able to deliver we aim to deliver for them for that year period. And we're confident that we can do that now going forward. I think if you went back 10 years ago and we said, we will get these number of matches. We'll be able to create this community for you. We'll be able to get these projects funded for you or your researchers. We wouldn't have been able to do it because we just didn't have the marketplace there. We didn't have the critical mass. But I think nowadays, obviously with the number of members and the number of users, we feel much more confident and in a better position to be able to proactively offer that to our organizations.
And that's of course, when the more refined such a thing gets, the better the sell, right? Naturally, obviously, the more obvious the added value would be for newcomers. Also, word of mouth, I guess, like these things are. It spreads. If things work, then it spreads. It's like this. But I guess, Michael, your experience from the research world probably helps you here, no?
Oh, definitely. I mean, I worked in one of the world's leading research organizations for 15 years, working in the space of European research and innovation, building partnerships, building networks, trying to see experiencing what worked, maybe what could be working better, understanding the language, understanding even the policy context and the challenges around it,
but also
and also the direction of travel.
Yeah, but it's also a matter of understanding what it is for the individual researcher and the individual research team, what challenges they sit with when they are attacking when they have a research idea that they want to fold out, but they have no idea how to. It's very specific issues of resources and lack of outgoing networks. They have a lot of research networks, but it's very specific, the bottlenecks you would have in research in order to fold out a winning Horizon proposal.
Yeah, and I'd say our if I was to say who would be the sort of sweet spot of the sort of typical characteristic sweet spot of a user on our platform, I would say somebody maybe an early stage researcher or an emerging researcher who is excellent, maybe has had Marie Curie fellowship funding, maybe a starting grant project from the ERC, but all of their experience today has been in academia, and maybe most of their experience has been in a certain themed area as well. And then what does the university want for these researchers? They want them to build their networks. They want them to be more visible. They want them to be working internationally, typically. They want them typically to be working with other sectors, ideally with businesses as well, and to be promoting that on an international scale. But how can they go about doing that? What platforms and networks exist out there? And I think obviously we help different people for different stages of their career and different sectors. But I think if you're going to look at a characteristic sweet spot, I'd say that would be it. You will always have, your world leading professors that may have years or decades of experience where, they will act as the magnet for industry to come to them. And we might be able to help them here and there, but I wouldn't say it would be in the same level of support and value that we would provide to that typical early stage researcher, that typical sort of Marie Curie sort of early sort of postdoc years that's really trying to build their career internationally and cross-sectorally as well.
We are slowly moving towards wrapping this up. Were there moments that you doubted?
I think when we had the big challenges around Brexit, big challenges around the COVID-19, these were times where we felt, this is going to be tough for any small business that's trying to scale. But we've been lucky in a way, and as I said, joked at the beginning, I'd love to sit here and say it was strategic, but we've just been, the limitations, and still even now. I mean, we're doing a podcast online. I mean, over the last 3 years, the amount of face-to-face time that and brokerage events that would be on show around Europe has significantly gone down, whereas the increase in need for people to collaborate and innovate together around these big societal challenges have gone up exponentially. So, and obviously the trying to connect research communities, excellent organizations with businesses is a challenge to do this internationally. And we feel that given the challenges we've had with Brexit and the pandemic, actually what we're offering is a part solution to what is obviously a very, very big challenge and problem, trying to keep the very best people and organizations connected so that they can innovate and collaborate on some of the world's biggest problems.
Yeah. Last question before we go into toughest challenge. Do you have any idea of success, so to say, of the members of the platform? Do you get this kind of information? Do you have an idea of how many of these guys how many of these networks that managed to get funding due to the support that they got through your system?
So it's tricky to capture this in its entirety because people, it's a bit like a dating app. I met my wife through a dating app, but a dating app doesn't know that I got married as a result of a dating app, if you know what I mean. But
should tell them.
But in a serious note, I mean, if you get it's a success story. I could do a testimonial, yes. But no, if you go to our website. And if you go under the link network, and there's actually a tab that says success. If you click on success, we have dozens of testimonials from all over Europe thanking us for the connections that have been made that have led to successful outcomes for their organization. And what we're really proud of at Crowdhelix is the diversity of these testimonials, literally all over the world, certainly all over the European research area. Different sectors, different shapes and sized organizations. So if anyone is wondering whether what we do actually works, then I'd encourage them to go and have a look at that tab, and I think that really speaks largely for itself.
Just curious, because I know that's often what you look at. If you look at what's happening. No, all right, Michael, toughest challenge. This is a segment that I have in all my episodes. What was the toughest challenge when you built the platform?
I think for me, when we were building the network originally, obviously as a concept, trying to get buy-in for that, and then wanting to move quicker, and also having to be patient. And obviously we were bootstrapping as well at the time. I think this was a challenge. And then the curveball of Brexit, which happened 2 or 3 years after us launching this as a concept and us being based originally in the UK, and then all the uncertainty around Brexit and being a small company, effectively a startup company. I mean, this was hugely challenging. Just planning for whether I would go full time into the business or not, and then just trying to decide on what to do in terms of setting up another presence outside of the UK, which we have done. We have another office in Ireland, and we have half of our staff now based in Ireland. And then I decided after a year and a half of the post-Brexit negotiations and challenges around that, even though nothing had really been officially agreed, I decided to then go full time and leave my job at UCL 15 years, and then the month before I left. I handed in my notice, and then it was a 3-month notice period, and I was in approaching my 3rd month of notice period, and then COVID-19 hit. So and then I caught COVID-19 as well. So but yeah, it was a collection of challenges at the same time. But and it is a cliche. It really is. Obviously, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, and I firmly believe that. And it's made us stronger at Crowdhelix, and obviously our position in the marketplace has kind of played into that as well. I'm very proud of what the team have done in sort of working their way through these challenging times. And as I said, if you go to our success page, you'll see a number of these, dozens of these quotes going back a number of years. And these are quotes and successful matches that have all been done, during what's been a global pandemic. So, we're obviously delivering value to our members and actually having a real impact in what is quite a challenging market space. And that's what I'm really proud of. Even though it's been a challenging time, we've actually come good from it and have actually turned the challenge into very much a positive.
What was the tipping point? From being tough to say, okay, now it flows a little easier. Was there a point where you realized?
I feel that we're constantly having tipping points, of challenges, because as you grow, if you go from.
I'm talking a tipping point of positivity.
Oh, positivity.
Where you say, okay, now, we actually it's rolling now.
I'm constantly on at the team, so they'll probably say that I'm constantly nagging them. But I mean, in terms of positivity, I think, I've yet to see it on the Brexit front. We're seeing some slight positive signals from the UK government with regards to Northern Ireland. I mean, if we could see association for the UK, that would be massive. And I'm a firm believer that is the best for the UK and obviously for Europe as well. And I think for us, obviously, the different metrics that we hit on the platform, and as you can see, it's going up quite significantly. And then the matches coming through that then generate positive results. I mean, these are all really positive signs for us. We have a number of other projects and sort of ideas in the pipeline, but obviously then having feedbacks that we've had, which are on our success page, for us this is a really big deal for us, and we're really proud of it.
Did you ever live in a trailer park, Michael? No. No, that's good. I'm happy.
Not yet.
I'm happy. Startup. Well, you have 35 people there. I'm impressed that you managed to build this to 35 employees. That's nice. That's strong for a company like this.
Yeah, and I think for us now, we've been able to professionalize a lot of the verticals that we have within the company as well. As a startup, then you're bootstrapping, you're kind of there's a very small group of people doing everything. And, you're not really a specialist in many of the things that you're doing, but you're leading on them. And I think now where the company's in, you're able to bring in specialists who they have a lot of experience in their respective areas. And for us, I guess that's also a positive tipping point as well, because then you can then see the growth going forward and those people adding value rather than. I did feel that sometimes I was kind of there was a certain degree of myself chasing my own tail for a little while, because we were just doing so many different jobs collectively, a very small group of us doing so many jobs across the company. But obviously now we have a little bit more critical mass. We're able to professionalize that and invest in certain things.
Division of labor.
Yes, it's definitely
specialization.
Exactly.
It all helps. Michael, we are going to wrap this up now. Thank you so much. I'm just gonna land this airplane. Have an outro before we say goodbye to the listeners. So thanks for listening to the end out there. my listener base is growing slowly. If anybody is curious about that, it's rough. Just a little bit like Michael. It's rough to build up a startup also in podcasting. I can tell you that when it comes to listeners. But to tell the truth, from the low point of listeners this summer when I started, it's only been rising gradually but slowly. So it's moving into a good place, and I'm getting more and more attention. So, and it's all thanks to you out there that listens. Thank you so much. It means that that there's some quality in what I do. At least if it grows, it means that I give added value to people out there. So that's the whole point of it. Thanks for that. As always, go to thegrant.eu. Check out if you're a newbie. Check out the universe that I have there. It's this should be episode number 50 or something like this. So yeah, there's a good batch of stuff to listen up to go back to it there and for binge listening. Also check out it's difficult as a spare time initiative to build up a lot of content but I have made a hub where I'm trying to share the links to the commission's webinars, to the matchmaking events, the participants portal, and so on. So the different resources you would have as within this community to access. Now I'm also going to share Michael's platform here, of course, so you can check out the services and see if it's something for you. That's what this is all about. I don't help people to sell their stuff. I give them a platform to tell about their solution, because I've been a private consultant myself. So I know the struggle they have. I know the immense amount of quality that they give to the community, and I like to share that rough and hard work that they all do, like you, Michael, to try to give added value to all of you guys out there. So check that out. Thanks again for listening to that. Michael, thank you so much for dropping by the virtual podcast studio. We will, all my guests, they are always welcome back. So we will, now we have a good, strong connection. And I will reach out to you. And you're always welcome to get back to me if there's something specifically you want to talk about. So thanks for this.
Thanks, Niels.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, guys.